Contemporary Topics 3, Advanced Academic Listening and Note-Taking Skills, 3rd edition, by David Beglar and Neil Murray. Series Editor, Michael Rost. Copyright 2009 Pearson Education Incorporated. All rights reserved. The use of this audio program for the purpose of copying, transforming, or adapting in any manner, in whole or in part, is strictly prohibited without prior consent of Pearson Education. CD3. Unit 9, Linguistics, Animal Communication, page 83. Build your vocabulary. 1.
Gerhard speaks English with a slight German accent. His pronunciation is a little different from someone who grew up in an English-speaking country.
2.
Every language has many discrete sounds. For instance, in English, the P in the word pale and T in the word tail are pronounced in different ways.
3.
Some animals make meaningful sounds that are distinct from one another. For example, a low-pitched sound may communicate anger, and a high-pitched sound, excitement.
4.
Human languages are very flexible. People can say the same thing in many different ways.
5.
The songs used by older birds are passed on to the younger generation of birds. In this way, the young birds learn to sing like their parents.
6.
Some chimpanzees have been taught to express an impressive number of ideas. Most people are surprised to learn that some chimps understand several hundred words.
7.
Dogs express happiness using nonverbal behavior. They jump up and down in an excited way and wag their tails quickly.
8.
Human communication is fairly precise, so we usually understand each other. For example, if you say, "Look at my new hairstyle," I know where to look.
9.
Almost all animal communication seems random when we look at grammar. Animals seem to use no clear grammar rules.
10.
Although some animals can communicate well within their own species, ultimately their ability to communicate with humans is quite limited.
Unit 9, Linguistics, Animal Communication, page 85. Try it out.
Okay, on a related note, two common but very different modes of animal communication are acoustic signals or sounds and chemical signals. Acoustic signals can travel long distances and do so almost instantly. These sounds can also be altered in useful ways. For instance, the pitch, loudness, and rhythm of a sound can be changed. This allows animals to communicate different meanings. Like acoustic signals, chemical signals can travel long distances too. But they require much more time to do so because they depend on moving air or water. Similar to acoustic signals, chemical signals can be altered in many ways. For instance, a little bit of a chemical can attract other animals, while a greater amount of the same chemical can repel them. Chemical signals can also be used for marking territory and trails.
Unit 9, Linguistics, Animal Communication, pages 86 and 87. Listen for main ideas and listen for details.
How many of you have pets? They're great, aren't they? I've got a golden retriever myself, and often I feel that my dog is communicating with me. But do animals really communicate like we do? Well, Harvard professor Mark Hauser has identified several types of animal communication. And like humans, they do use sounds and nonverbal behavior to communicate. For instance, they convey information to one another, they establish and maintain social organization, and they express their perceptions of the world. So today we'll look at animal communication through the lens of human language. Specifically, we'll use 4 basic characteristics of human language to see how animal and human communication styles compare. I think that you'll be surprised at how sophisticated animal communication is. But ultimately, we'll see that human communication is far more flexible and better developed. Now, the first characteristic we'll look at is arbitrariness. Arbitrariness means that there's no logical relationship between a sound and its meaning. For example, the word sky has no relationship with the thing it refers to, right? In comparison, a lot of animal communication is not arbitrary. For example, the growl of an angry dog is meant to very directly warn and threaten. There's nothing arbitrary about this message, right? However, some animal communication is arbitrary, albeit to a limited degree. For example, meerkats, a small African animal, can make about 20 distinct sounds. They use one alarm call for snakes, another for eagles, and yet another for large cats, just to name a few, okay? This is impressive, but human languages are far more flexible because they have a wide range of sounds. English, for example, has more than 40 distinct sounds, such as ah, k, or t. And we can make an unlimited number of arbitrary words by altering these sounds, far more than any animal. The second characteristic of human language we'll compare is displacement. Displacement is communicating ideas about things that are not physically present. For example, if you talk about what you did last weekend, that's displacement. Now, can animals do this? Well, often the answer is they can't. For instance, if your dog doesn't like the neighbor cat, maybe it barks when it sees the cat. But when the cat isn't around, the dog doesn't bark. It doesn't communicate its dislike of the cat. This shows that the dog doesn't have the capacity for displacement. Well, one exception to this is bees. Many types of bees use displacement in their dances. Through these dances, they're able to communicate to other bees the distance, direction, quality, and quantity of a food source. The meaning of the dance is so clear and so precise that even scientists researching bee dances can interpret exactly where the food is. In any case, although I think that the bees is an excellent example of the sophistication of animal communication, in general, animals' use of displacement is extremely limited compared to humans. Think about books, magazines, and the internet. I mean, everything that we read involves displacement, as do most of our conversations. The third characteristic of human language that I want to consider is called cultural transmission. The idea that language is passed from one generation to the next. Now, obviously, humans excel at this, but what about animals? Well, some animals are also fairly skilled at passing language on to their young. A good example of this is the killer whale. They live in groups, and different groups develop different accents, just like people. The accents are passed from older to younger killer whales. Well, this is yet another example of the sophistication of some animal communication. However, once again, what we see is that while animal and human communication share similarities, the characteristics that we are looking for are far more developed in humans. For example, in addition to accents, humans also pass on extremely large vocabularies and complex grammar. The fourth and last characteristic that we'll talk about today is called discreteness. This means that language is made up of discrete units that can be combined in different ways to create different meanings. As humans, we do this by using sounds to make words and using grammar to arrange those words into sentences. The best example we have of animals using discreteness is from chimpanzees raised in captivity. Using a keyboard, chimps have made requests for food by typing raisin peanut, which seem to mean raisins and peanuts. Chimps have also invented phrases to describe things. For example, one chimp called watermelon drink fruit. Clever, huh? But while this is fairly impressive, one major problem with the chimpanzees' use of language is that their word order is quite random. So most linguists would say that the chimpanzees really do not understand and use grammar in the way that humans do, and therefore can't be said to use discreteness. In the use of discreteness, we see that humans have a huge advantage over animals. Discreteness allows us to make complex words and sentences that communicate an unlimited number of meanings. And this is one of the really impressive, actually amazing aspects of human communication.
Unit 9, Linguistics, Animal Communication, page 88. Talk about the topic, parts A and B.
So here's the lecture in a nutshell. Animals communicate, and they share some communication characteristics with us. But animal communication is less developed. Is that what everyone else got from this lecture?
Pretty much.
Well, I agree that's what he said, but personally, I think animal communication is a lot more sophisticated than we understand.
How so? You really think it's as sophisticated as human communication?
In some ways, yeah. I mean, I saw this documentary about monkeys that give signals for, birds, snakes, other animals, depending on what they see.
Yeah, but remember, that's not using, arbitrariness. And it's not using displacement. Those are very clear and very present signals, right?
What is a meerkat, by the way?
Oh, it's a kind of little monkey, or kind of like a cat, really. Looks like a raccoon to me. Lives in Africa.
So, even though animal communication is kind of sophisticated, there seem to be very few examples of complex communication. Human communication is usually really complex, right?
Yeah, like when you seem to be saying different things and therefore send mixed signals.
Or when you're being very indirect and the other person has to read between the lines.
Or what about when people are being like passive aggressive and saying one thing,
I
but
hate that.
really meaning something else?
That's like sending mixed signals and having to read between the lines.
Unit 9, Linguistics, Animal Communication. Take the unit test. Listen to each question. Circle the letter of the correct answer. 1.
What is one of the main ideas of the lecture?
2.
Which idea was not discussed in the lecture?
3.
What is the definition of displacement?
4.
Which creature can skillfully use displacement?
5.
What sophisticated communication ability do killer whales possess?
6.
What animal has shown a limited ability to use discreteness?
7.
What are chimpanzees unable to do when they communicate?
8.
Which of the following is probably true of animal communication?
9.
What would the speaker probably say about animals' ability to communicate about past events?
10.
What would the speaker probably say about humans' ability to communicate with animals?
Unit 9, Linguistics, Animal Communication, page 90. Extend the topic, part A.
So, what would animals communicate about anyway? I mean, ideas, feelings?
Well, since there's still no convincing evidence that animals are capable of complex reasoning, we believe they're often communicating their feelings, what you and I would call emotions.
Wow, such as happiness, sadness, anger?
Well, we're not sure that animals experience the same emotions as you and I, but some of their feelings are probably similar. For instance, emotions like fear arise in a place in our brain that we share with many animals. So fear might feel similar for humans and animals. Another example is that some animals, such as dogs and elephants, seem to find joy in meeting friends and family. But we don't yet know just how similar their feelings are to our own.
Right, because animals can't tell us what they're feeling.
True. One interesting idea is that animals experience emotions in a very pure way because their brain is less complex. For instance, when they feel joy, it may be a kind of pure 100% joy, not a feeling like, I'm happy, but...
Ah, I see. No buts for animals.
Right. And if you think about it, this is how we experienced emotions when we were small children. When we were happy, we were 100% happy. So maybe before our brain develops fully, we experience feelings that are similar to some animals.
In that case, I'd have to say that I'm a bit envious of our animal friends. Who wouldn't want to feel 100% happiness?
Unit 10, Economics, The Evolution of Money, page 93. Build your vocabulary. 1.
Large cities began to form in Europe as people abandoned farm work and began other kinds of work. They voluntarily moved to urban areas.
2.
Money was originally a concrete object, like gold, but has become increasingly abstract. Now, some forms of money are a digital computer code.
3.
Many of the impressive developments we see in modern civilization are due to the creation of money. One example is multinational corporations.
4.
There are currently many types of currency in the world. Yen, pesos, dollars, and euros are just a few.
5.
When money was invented, it provided enormous advantages over previous ways of conducting trade. The differences were huge.
6.
The wealth of rich children is usually tied to heredity. Their money often comes from their parents.
7.
When people believe that hard work will be rewarded, individual initiative increases dramatically.
8.
The value of money is not subjective. The value of $1 in New York is the same as the value of $1 in California.
9.
Financial transactions involving trillions of dollars take place daily. In the stock market, for example, people exchange shares in hundreds of countries.
10.
Money has undergone tremendous change over the past several thousand years. It now looks very different from the way it once did.
Unit 10, Economics, The Evolution of Money, page 95. Try it out.
Okay, let's move on. At present, fewer than 200 currencies are in use in the world. But will that be true 30 or 40 years from now? Probably not. In the near future, a few regional currency blocks will probably develop. Europe has already done this with the euro. In the near future, we may see a North American bloc, an Asian bloc, and a South American bloc develop. In 30 years, we may have fewer than 10 currencies in the world. And then, given a bit more time, those currencies may merge into a single world currency. Why would this happen? First of all, a single currency would eliminate destructive currency fluctuations, or when the currency of a single country loses value suddenly. Secondly, trade between countries would be far easier and less expensive. Thirdly, there would be no need for countries to keep reserves of other countries' money because they would all be using the same currency. Countries could use the money that had been kept in reserve in far more productive ways.
Unit 10, Economics, The Evolution of Money, pages 96 and 97. Listen for main ideas and listen for details.
Money. It's one of the greatest creations of human history and has played a positive role in the development of modern civilization. However, we haven't always used money. If we look back, say, more than 3,000 years ago, which is when coins first appeared, we would find that most people conducted business using a system of direct exchange called barter. For instance, I might exchange my 5 chickens for your 3 sheep. That's barter. Today, I'll be talking about some advantages of money over barter, how money has undergone change over time, and the benefits of money. Okay, in early societies, land and agriculture provided the main forms of wealth and power. How? Because only landowners could grow large amounts of food and raise large amounts of animals, such as cattle and sheep. Although people could carry out limited business transactions by bartering animals and vegetables, the barter system was doomed to fail. Why? Well, you'll see through the 4 enormous advantages of money I'm about to explain. The first advantage is that financial transactions of any size can take place, an advantage that increased tremendously when paper money was introduced. For example, it's simple for a company to make a transaction involving millions or billions of dollars when using money. Second, transactions involving money can be done fast. People who have money can get it and transfer it to another person rapidly. This means that business can be conducted quickly. And now, of course, with electronic transactions, money can be moved over any distance in a flash. Third, money allows people to do business with anyone across cultural or geographic boundaries, and this greatly expands business opportunities. Money truly enjoys universal acceptance. The fourth advantage is that the value of money is precise and consistent. Precise means that the value of money can be determined in exact ways. $5.49 or $5.51. Money is also consistent because the value of $1 is $1. It isn't subjective. And even when the value of a currency fluctuates, it fluctuates for everyone. Okay, let me say a few words about the evolution of money. Originally, money was a physical object found in nature, cattle and grains, for example. It then evolved to become a manufactured physical object, such as gold and silver coins. Next, money became something more abstract, something that is symbolic of physical objects, such as gold and silver. At this stage in its evolution, money became pieces of paper, such as paper money and stock certificates. While gold and silver coins have real value, paper doesn't because it's completely separated from what it once represented, gold. This was an enormous evolutionary leap because money moved from being a concrete physical object to being a symbolic abstract idea. And this idea worked only because people had a great deal of trust and faith in the principle. Okay, now what about the benefits that have resulted from the invention of money? I'll cover 3. The invention has benefited commerce, human initiative, and individual freedom. Traditionally, wealth was handed down from parent to child in the form of land. And because few people were landowners, few people had any hope of advancing in society or of becoming even moderately wealthy. However, as agriculture became increasingly efficient, more and more people abandoned farm work. These people began to live in cities and to make their livings by offering non-agricultural products and services. Money was the facilitator of this commerce because, as we just saw, money allows business people to sell goods to anyone, right? Second point, the rise of commerce increased individual initiative because wealth was no longer necessarily tied to heredity. Instead, brains and hard work became important. The result? Growing middle class and upper classes of relatively wealthy people. And thirdly, people working in non-agricultural businesses gained the freedom to choose their own futures. For example, education became accessible to many more people. As a result, they were better able to function independently and successfully. This further accelerated the growth of both new businesses and money. Can you see that? All right, to sum up, money is one of the greatest and most productive tools ever created by human beings. It's a tool that's strongly related to human and social development, to creativity, and, frankly, to turning dreams into reality. But the true source of all of these benefits is not money itself, because money is just an abstraction. Humans are the ones who give meaning to money, and through this very human use of trust and faith, millions of people have been able to live better, more comfortable, and more fulfilling lives.
Unit 10, Economics, The Evolution of Money, page 98. Talk about the topic, parts A and B.
I think all the different concepts involved are neat. It's fun to play around with the different ideas behind it all.
Yeah, it's kind of cool to think that we're seeing money's latest evolution. Like she said, we've gone from cows to gold to paper and now electronic money.
Yeah, well, actually, based on my recent luck, I'd like to make a case for going back to cows.
Why?
Oh, my credit card number got stolen sometime last weekend, and now I have all these crazy charges on my account.
What happened? Did you lose your card or something?
No, I mean, it never left my purse, but somehow somebody got a hold of the account number and the password, and they bought, online jewelry and these really expensive boots in Berlin, and then CDs in London.
How do you find this out?
Actually, the credit card company called me. They wanted to verify some of the charges. They thought it was suspicious that there were charges made in the US and Germany and England all in the same day.
Wow. Well, it's good that they found it so fast, though.
Yeah.
So did you have to pay for anything?
No, fortunately, the credit card company is covering it all. I mean, that's their policy when there's theft or fraud. But the whole episode's just kind of bummed me out, I mean, I think I'm just going to stick to cash right now, and I don't really trust electronic money.
I don't blame you, but cash is risky too. You could get robbed.
Thank you for the comforting thought.
Yeah, what are you trying to do to her over
Yeah.
there? That's scary, though, about the credit card numbers.
I know.
I did think that you had the thing the whole time.
I know.
Unit 10, Economics, The Evolution of Money. Take the unit test. Listen to each question. Circle the letter of the correct answer. 1.
What is exchanging 5 chickens for 2 sheep an example of?
2.
What is one of the main points of the lecture?
3.
Which of the following topics was not discussed in the lecture?
4.
Why was wealth possessed by landowners in early societies?
5.
Which of the following is not an advantage of money?
6.
What was the earliest form of money?
7.
What was one result of greater agricultural efficiency?
8.
Which of the following ideas about money is probably true?
9.
What does the speaker probably think about new digital forms of money?
10.
What is the speaker's attitude toward money?
Unit 10, Economics, The Evolution of Money, page 100. Extend the topic, Part A.
Micah, thanks for joining us to talk about the future of money. So, what does the future hold for us?
Well, Gray, I can sum it up in 3 words: digital, virtual, and universal.
Okay, let's take those one at a time. So how about digital?
The use of credit and debit cards will continue to grow, and eventually will reach a place where cash, coins, and paper money will be a thing of the past. Although the credit and debit cards qualify as digital money, they aren't virtual because they're still physical objects.
And what would qualify as virtual money?
In the future, touchscreen interfaces will be absolutely everywhere, in every home and every store. When we want to buy something, the system will identify us by our voice, fingerprint, or face. We'll then type in information about the transaction and make our purchase. No cash, no credit card, nothing physical. The transaction will take place completely over computer networks. That's virtual.
Interesting. And how about the last one, universal?
Universal means that we'll eventually use a single digital currency, not dollars, euros, or yen. The ones and zeros found in computer code will become the world currency. Although some national governments will resist the move away from having a national currency, having a universal currency will stimulate the world economy in ways that are difficult to imagine at present.
Okay, there you have it. Digital, virtual, universal. Thanks so much for being with us today.